Tom. How are you, Tom?
Yeah, good, Tim. Yourself?
Yeah, not bad, mate.
It's good.
How long have you been here in Mathoura?
Around 40 years.
40 years? Where'd you come from?
Geelong. I was in Echuca and I married a local girl and we moved here and we've been here ever since.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you found Mathoura a really nice little community?
When I first moved here, the history of Mathoura is it's right next door to the world's largest red gum forest, and it was at a time when they supplied all the railway sleepers for Victorian railways and some for South Australia, believe it or not. And you could go out to the forest and cut as many sleepers as you wanted, and the Victorian railways would buy them all. There was absolutely no limitation on what they would buy. They would buy as many as you could provide, and as far as the forest goes, do what you want.
So that was out of one tree?
No. It was a good time. It was a prosperous time for the town. Consequently, what happened there was a premier of the day who wanted the support of the Greens, and with the stroke of a pen, he outlawed the harvesting of railway sleepers.
That's unreal that people sitting behind a desk does not know what's going on out in the real world.
Well, we've become accustomed to that people who have no idea what it is like to live in a small country town make decisions that dramatically affect us without any consultation, and even with consultation, just prior to amalgamation, and when it was Murray Shire and we amalgamated with Wacol Shire, they sent down a small committee of people from Sydney to come here and talk to the locals. Look, it was quite obvious from the outset that they weren't interested in common sense. They'd already had a plan to amalgamate us, and they were just going through the motions. And once again, this is people who have no idea of what it is like to be here making decisions for us.
Yeah, so somebody coming out of, say, a mansion going down to a shack on an anthill and saying, oh, look, we want you to do it different like that, and we're going to make sure you do it. But, yeah. So
for political purposes, and that's all it was. He needed the support of the Greens to get across the line. And as it turned out, he didn't get that anyway, but we're stuck with it.
So they broke down the industry of the wood cutters for the sleepers.
Look, it's a sustainable industry that, the flow-on effects of that industry were enormous for Echuca, Moama, and the whole region. Even in Barron, the whole area was dramatically affected by the closure of the forest.
But it makes a big impact on the community too, doesn't it?
Of course, oh, absolutely. And when you convert a forest to national parks, the ramifications of that, and look, we have a bit of an issue in this area with kangaroos, and part of the issue there is that they're able to breed unchallenged, out of control in national parks. National parks don't care because, they just don't. And national parks are a law unto their own. They won't be told anything by anybody. And, I almost feel like a prisoner in my own town sometimes, because I'm too scared to travel anywhere at night because there's a fair chance you're going to hit a kangaroo. And even though I live here, I work in Moama and I travel there every day, and it's not unusual to see 4 or 5 kangaroos
on the road.
Yep, dead on the side of the road every day. It's a daily occurrence.
So it's just like playing a game of footy on the field. You got the ball, you got to dodge everything else to get to where you want to be.
And it shouldn't be like that. There are, arguably there are 2 kangaroos for every person in Australia. It's not like it's not like this is a species that is anywhere near extinct. They are breeding in uncontrolled numbers, and all I've suggested is that we, do it sensibly and with vets or professional shooters to control the numbers.
So since you've been here in Mathoura, do you know much of the history of the town?
Unfortunately, no, not a great deal. It's always been a timber town, as I say. It's right next door to the world's largest red gum forest. The Cobb Highway, I think most people would have heard of Cobb and Co. That's how that became the Cobb Highway.
This was actually a stopover place from New South Wales, Victoria, South Australia for the cattle industry, for the drovers and everything else. And also, all the way back then, I think it was founded around 1848, which was when Mathoura was roughly done, but it wasn't known as Mathoura back then.
Redbank is what it was known as.
Yeah.
And let me also tell you, believe this or not, they used to have paddle steamers that would come down the Darling River and come up to Echuca with their wares or whatever it were, wool and grain, whatever they farmed back then. Because Echuca was the nearest railhead to Melbourne. There were trains that actually went to Echuca.
Yeah.
So they'd come down to Darling, and it would not be unusual to have people who would be stranded on a paddle steamer on the Darling River, you know, hundreds of miles from anywhere, waiting for the water to come up so they could carry on.
Well, it's ebb and flow of all the river systems, though, isn't it?
And look,
the ones that are still running.
Yeah, water is a topical subject, and I'm no expert on water, but let's dispel any arguments. All I know is there's not enough of it for us.
No, there's definitely not. And it doesn't matter, it's not the difference whether it's a small town or a community, but also the farmers. Doesn't matter whether they're wheat or grain farmers, cattle, sheep, any type of farmer needs that water commodity, and so does any community to survive.
Look, like any small country town, to the people watching this who live in small country towns, we all have a group of elderly experts. Every town has them.
Yep.
We've all got our own individual characters, like we've got a few in this town, like they have in any other town. The Snowy scheme was put in place to drought-proof Australia. So what's happened?
It's more droughts.
What's gone wrong?
More droughts is coming along.
Well, you know, they tried to drought-proof the country and very nearly did that. When you throw in the political aspect of drought, the political aspect as well as the drought, that's a very good formula for a disaster, and I think that's where we're heading.
Yeah, which is not good for any community, any town, or any farmer.
And mental health is you know, the government has been very slow to not only recognise it but actually do something about it, because I'm of the belief they're very reluctant to open the floodgates, because mental health affects so many people, and the farming communities and the small towns are, you know, affected more than people in the city, because we can see the devastation that it's caused to the farming community.
Oh, definitely.
When the farming community don't do well, the small towns don't do well, and the people who live in the small towns don't do well. It's a flow-on effect.
Yeah, and it slowly dies out. And it's devastating to any area. It's not whether it's a small town, a community or farmers. Each little consequence has a big major impact down the track.
Exactly. You know, and suicide is something that nobody wants to talk about. But they deliberately, I believe they deliberately hide the numbers of suicides in Australia, particularly in regional and rural Australia, because I'm of the view that those numbers would be...
you don't hear many of them.
And that's because it's a reflection, it's a snapshot of how the country is going in regional and rural Australia, and they don't want us to know that it's suffering immensely.
It's suffering more than what a lot of people realise, and anywhere from it could be the farmer or the farmer's partner or their kids, somebody they're really close to in the township. But what a lot of people don't realise is every farmer needs a community, every community needs a farmer, but above all else, everybody needs that farmer.
And you're exactly right, and it doesn't always end up in suicide. I mean, that's obviously the worst case scenario, but, you know, family breakups, marriages fall apart, all manner of things happen as a result of mental health, you know, alcohol, drugs, all these things play a part in it. And Australia is a very, you know, it's a diverse country, it has a lot of natural resources. I just think that we could probably do better.
The biggest natural resource Australia's got is the water.
Yep.
And that's being restricted to where it's actually needed to be.
Exactly.
So,
I believe for political purposes.
Yeah, where it needs to be with the towns and the communities, it needs to be for the farmers, because without those, you're not going to survive.
Well, the towns, you know, as a councillor, I know that the towns have high security water, but it's more than the high security water. That will keep the towns in water, but it's the farming communities that support the small towns. And if they haven't got the water, they can't support the small towns. Consequently, the schools close down, people leave. You know, you only have to have a look at some larger areas close by where government agencies have been withdrawn, because it just doesn't have it's not happening like it used to, you know.
With the businesses you've got here in Mathoura, how do you think they help with the community? And
look, we have a number of elderly people who live on their own in town, and they rely on the store for their food, for their daily food. We have spent a lot of money trying to spruce the place up. We've painted the front of it. We've completely changed the outlook of it. We've also added a nursery to it. And we're trying our hardest to try and support the town. Everyone who works for me is a local. They all live in town. And I think that's an important part of it. From a financial aspect, return on investment, well, it's holding its own. And given all the circumstances with COVID and what happened last week, New Year's, with the closing of the border, it's going okay. It's going okay.
So you're keeping local people employed, and the money's staying in the local community.
That's right, stays in town.
plus on top of that, it's helping the local community to help better understand and deal with mental health issues and things, because it's all staying in the community.
Look, that's right. And look, another aspect of this is that 40 kilometres south we have Echuca, around 40 kilometres north we have Deniliquin. This is a convenience store. We call it a general store, but it's actually a convenience store. And it's in some instances it's a lot more expensive than Coles or Safeway, because we just can't compete. We don't have the buying power because we don't have the turnover. You know, and people say, oh, you're too dear, we're going to go to Echuca. Well, that's fine. I understand that, but there's also a time when you need to support the local businesses, the small guys that are doing it pretty tough. And I can tell you now, no one's doing it tougher than what people in small towns, in business in small towns, are doing.
Oh, yeah, you're completely right about that. And the money they're paying out on fuel is more than what it's going to cost them to buy in locally.
Exactly. Yeah.
So,
you know, we're trying our hardest. We're trying to, you know, I've got the motorcycle museum, I've got the little cafe beside it, I've got the general store. I'm not on a mission to control the town. I believe in trying to provide. You know, the motorcycle museum, I don't know where there is another one within 500 kilometres, so I have people come from, I've had them come as far away as South Australia, I've had them come from Beechworth, I've had them come from Hay, Griffith, you know, it's a very unique thing, and that brings outside money into the town, and I also think that's a pretty good thing.
oh, definitely, because any town that's trying to survive, they need something that tourists are going to come in and have a look at and go, wow.
Yeah.
You go back and get extra busy again?
Yeah, I will.
So just one more thing before I let you go, because I know you're a busy man. What does community mean to you?
Community means security of knowing that where I live is a happy, safe place for not only myself, my partner, well, my wife, my children all grown up now, but only have one, so one child is grown up. But community is knowing the principal of the school, knowing the football netball club, and the football netball clubs in all small country towns are maybe not the nucleus, but have a tremendous standing in the community. Without a football netball club, and I don't care whether it's Catutna or Swan Hill or Mathoura or Deniliquin or Echuca, the football netball club is such a powerful force in the town, it glues the town together. I think I can walk down the street here, and whether people love me or hate me, they will always say hello to me. And to me, that is a community that, you know, people come to me with all sorts of problems, and I see my role as trying to resolve those issues, whether it's in their favour or not, but I'm duty bound to take it to council and say, here's the problem. You know, I get a fair amount of happiness out of being well known, maybe not always well liked, but well known. And to me, that's part of living in my community. And look, sometimes I'm very parochial and outspoken, and I get that. But if I lived in Lockington or Cuyuna or anywhere, Berrigan, where I live, it's my town, I look after my town.
And you're still the same?
Yeah. No, it's still be the same. Yeah. That's how I am.
With, when you said about the footy club and netball club being the nucleus of any town, it's where the whole community can come together that one day a week.
Yep.
For a community activity.
And let out their frustrations and yell at the umpire and yell at the other players. And that's been Australian.
And get suspended for weeks.
Well, hopefully not. But, you know, it's the one thing that you can talk football to anybody in Australia, and it's like Collingwood supporters. Every time I've got to give a speech, my opening line is, are there any Collingwood supporters in the cricket?
Yeah.
Well, all you go over there to the left so we can keep an eye on that. Football is the great. It's the thing. One thing we can all talk about.
Yeah, there's only one team I don't talk about, and that's Carlton. But yeah,
well, no argument there.
No. All right, Tom. Thank you very much, mate.
Thanks, Tim.
Hey everybody, Tim back here again, still at the Tatteralls Hotel in Mathoura, and we're talking to John and Nicole. How are we?
Very good. How are you?
Yeah, very well, thank you. So how long have you two been here in the Tatteralls Hotel and in Mathoura?
6 years?
6, yes. This is
Yeah.
number 6 year. Yep.
Number 6?
We're
Number
going
6.
into 6,
Yeah?
yep.
Now, you told me earlier where you came from. It's actually my hometown area.
Yeah, Yarrawonga, Mulwala.
Mawala, yep.
So, I'm Yarrawonga, he's Mulwala.
So what brought you to Mathoura?
Wow!
Laying in bed one night.
And I said, I'd really like to own a small town country pub, just run by the two of us, oh yeah, that'd be alright. And the next day he gets up, goes to work and drives past this one and sends me a photo. It's up for sale.
So,
And it just kept going from there.
No, we own a pub.
Yeah,
but why not? And it's a beautiful pub too, and a nice community town.
It is, yeah, no, it's a good town.
it is.
Beautiful
It's
little
a
town, yeah.
lovely little
Yeah.
town that's in between Echuca and Denoyquin. Like, you've got two major towns either side of it.
Either side, yeah.
Yeah,
And
we're
you've got a couple of nice rivers around here for fishing and boating. It's
A lot of water, big forest.
on the junction of the Murray and the Edward River.
Yeah, I was trying to figure out the name of the river down there before, because I wasn't sure whether it was the Darling River or the Edward River.
No, it's Edward, yep.
The Edward and the Murray.
Alright, so do you know much of the history of Mathoura? That's got you buggered.
Yeah, no, that's, yeah, no, a little bit, but yeah, no,
It
it's,
used to be a
it was big timber
Timber
town. Yeah, big
timber
timber
town.
Yeah.
So which one of you two started hanging the bras on the fence? Was it you, John? I reckon it was.
It was a couple of mine was I found, or she found in the bottom of, we were moving from Yarrawonga to Years.
Yeah.
Was cleaning out my
like,
drawers.
these aren't mine.
So that's how that started.
Yeah, I'd hang some of mine up there, but I don't know if they'd like extra, triple extra small,
That one's
triple A
second,
cups,
yeah.
but yeah.
No, the bra fence was started by a couple of ladies here in town, and they do a fantastic job.
Did you get them drunk on the wine?
No, I didn't. They actually don't drink wine. They drink
Beer and
bourbon.
Beer and bourbon?
Yeah.
So one night you had a ladies' night out and crawled home, and they thought,
what's this thing out?
I've got to relax. Off it goes, and it hung onto the stuck to the fence,
Yeah.
and that was it.
Usually when they go out, they don't wear them anyway. So around here.
Family secrets, ladies, you got to watch this.
So yeah, no, they do a fantastic job for
They do,
it, and they
yeah,
put the money back into the
For
community.
breast
So
cancer
it's,
and that, yeah.
But it's good. It's keeping it all in the community.
No, it is,
Yeah.
yeah. No, they do.
And plus, they're raising money for a good cause, like you said, for
Yeah.
breast cancer, isn't it?
Yeah, yes
Yeah.
it is, yeah.
so yeah,
So we've lost a couple since we've been in the sixth, oh no, not a couple, through breast cancer and that, but
or through cancer,
cancer, yeah.
not
pretty much.
just breast cancer,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
yeah,
so
there's been quite a few.
Yeah, they do
Treatment.
help out, they will get fuel vouchers and, there's a lot of money comes back into the actual town from.
With
from
them
that
starting the bra fence, it's all going to a good cause, which
It is, yeah, no, absolutely, yeah.
it's not only women that
No, the
from
blokes
breast
will get,
cancer
the blokes
as
will
well.
get them too, yeah.
because a lot of guys go through breast cancer
They
as
do.
well, and
Yeah,
a lot
yeah,
of people
yeah.
don't understand it.
Yeah.
So, but no, that's for somebody in a small community like Mathoura, for a
Yeah.
couple of ladies to come up with an idea like that
Yeah,
and
oh
raise
no, it was
money.
fantastic,
Yeah.
But that's something that's one of the things that's put Mathoura dead smack in the middle of the map Australia.
Yeah, it is,
Yeah.
no, it is, yeah, and like you drive there, there's always someone there taking a
Taking
photo.
photos and
Yeah.
taking,
Yeah,
a lot of
yeah,
people
it's-
stop by and have
yeah.
a look at it.
Yeah, well, we did on the way in.
Did it? Yeah,
We
right.
stopped by and had a look, and
Yeah.
I think Anita said she's got about 40 pairs hanging up there or
Yeah.
something. But yeah,
It's like not the rest of them.
yeah, that's one of the rest of them. Yeah, but so who actually washes all those bras?
Yeah,
The rain.
the rain.
The rain.
Man
It's-
himself.
It's all Mother Nature.
Up above.
Mother Nature. When it does rain,
So with owning the pub, do you know much of the history of the Tatteralls Hotel?
a little bit, not a lot.
It's
So
very,
like we were talking to you, like, one burnt down out here on the highway, and I'm probably gonna get, no, that didn't happen, but yeah. So, we reckon that around the time that one burnt down out on the highway,
So what do you think was the name of that one was?
Red Bank,
the Red Bank.
Red Bank,
Bank Inn?
yeah, something like that, yeah. You done my homework to me, but yeah. So when that burnt down, we don't know whether it was around, like, as in that year, but we think this is around 1930s, mid-30s, that this was built. So we think that
That burnt down and then
that
this one
burnt
was-
down and then
And then they built this one
they
here.
built
Yeah.
This
one,
one's got the decor and the feel around the late 20s, early 30s.
yeah.
And back then with the Red Bank Inn, that actually started by somebody, I think it was Name of Red Bank,
Yep.
and they sold that out to a circus family. And that was after the Red Bank Inn was built down
Yep.
there, and the circus family kept all that land. I think they kept it for, they had the licensee of that pub for about 6 years. Yeah.
Yep.
And Mathoura is derived from an Indigenous Aboriginal name, meaning
Windy place.
windy place, yeah.
And it is.
So you done your research on that one.
Yeah,
We live in it.
Yeah,
Like
we
it
do.
is. Today's probably calm
Yeah.
compared to what it is most of the
Yeah.
time. It's very windy.
So who, do you know who constructed the big fish just out on the outskirts of town?
Julie
Julie Guinan,
Guinan. She's a
Must be
local.
strong.
farmer out there. Yes, no, she's done a fantastic job of that. That's, yeah.
That's a big catch.
Oh, yeah.
She
Yeah,
did
why not?
this one. She did the one in Denny as well. There's one in Denny
Is it?
as you go over the bridge.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
There. Yeah, she's and if you go out to Picnic Point from here, her and two other ladies did the
Did
big
They
wall
got a big mural.
Mural.
Yeah, but it's
out there at
all
the boat
made out
ramp.
of steel.
Oh,
That's
So
all
you can
metal
go
work.
out there and sit there for an hour and just look at this and you'll just find different things. It's just,
wow.
oh, it's amazing.
I'll let you go and have a look
Yeah,
at it.
yeah, you will. Yeah.
So that's at the boat ramp there. You'll see that if you
Yeah.
just follow the road all the way down.
Oh, right. So with Mathoura being right here at the junction of the Murray River and the Ewes River, you get a lot of people and campers and fishermen and a lot of tourists coming in to Mathoura,
Yes,
and a lot of people camping in the area and
Yep.
spending their money here.
a lot.
Up until New Year's Eve.
Yeah, I can understand that. So I can.
We had this year's been hard on everyone.
Everyone.
Yeah, like the last
year.
12 months since, well, when
Easter last year.
24th of March was the date
Oh, yeah.
where they shut all of Australia down, like all pubs, clubs, the whole lot. When they shut the whole of Australia down, like everyone was in the same boat. It wasn't just our business that was being affected,
It was
or
everybody's.
it was
Yeah,
everyone's
it was,
business.
yeah,
Slowly
it was
you could
everyone.
see, like the Northern Territory got on top of it. They opened back up to virtually normal. Western Australia got on top of it, so they opened up to virtually normal within their states and that. But the border towns like Victoria and New South Wales,
We
And-
floundered big time.
Yeah.
if you live on a border, so we're governed by New South Wales because we're in New South Wales, but the Victorian government has a lot to do with our business too, because
They do because
our
it's so close.
Victorians are
90% of, we rely on 90% of Victorians.
for our
Yeah.
tourism
For
side of things,
tourism,
and
easy.
vice versa, like the border towns on Victoria's side, like so Echuca, they would suffer when Moama was up and going, when New South Wales was up and going, so Echuca was always quiet, but Moama was booming, so.
And then when it was around the other way, Echuca was booming and Moama and
Like it is now.
here and
Yeah,
other
and-
towns along the river were
Yeah.
dead quiet.
Mm.
That's one of the biggest problems with everybody being in the same boat. There's too many holes in it and people were sinking.
Well, we're not in the same boat, we're in the same storm. Our boats differ.
Yeah.
Yeah, the boats differ.
Some
It's
boats
just,
are bigger than others, but
yeah, and it depends on how many holes are in
We're
that boat.
we're pretty much in the same ocean.
Most
Yeah.
definitely. So do you know much of the history of Mathoura? Some of the buildings and
So we've got the motorcycle museum across the road used to be the old bakery,
Bakery, yeah.
is that a
and
bakery?
yeah,
There's a bakery.
The little
this side
building
of it, yeah, this side
that
of
goes
it,
back
Oh,
towards
right.
it, next
Got
to
an
it,
old wood fired.
and it's got the original. That's
Oven.
heritage listed now, and it's got the original oven.
Does that still work?
I wouldn't light a fire in it, but yeah.
I was going to get Tom and his girls to make me a loaf of bread.
No, I wouldn't be doing that. So.
Yeah, probably not. The dust would burn.
They've pulled down the old railway
Station. Yeah.
station now, but
Well, that's a shame because one of
I
the
think it
things that a lot of small towns and communities relied on years ago and could still rely on a lot now
Yeah.
was the train station and the passenger
Oh yeah,
train.
for sure. Yeah, for sure. No, the train was a big thing.
So how many people are actually in Mathoura and the wider community?
I reckon 900 to 1,000 in town, ish, and you'd probably go 1,500 for the like.
I'm not going to go around and count them all.
No, I'm not either. But
That'd be one beer per person, and
it's a big
I reckon
day.
I'd be buggered.
Yeah, big day.
Yeah. So you've got a primary school here.
Yep.
Yep.
Many kids go to the primary school?
Yeah. Oh, don't ask me how many though, but they do have from
Yeah, no, it's a
1 till.
6.
But it's a good little school. We've got a preschool here too, and that's got quite a lot of kids in it as
So
well.
they'll
Like they
probably
get a lot.
come up and go through to the same.
Yeah, they go
Yeah,
to the
yeah,
school,
yeah.
and then these buses that go to, I think there's about 7 school buses that come through here that go to Deniliquin and Echuca
They're
Moama.
usually for the secondary schools,
Yeah.
aren't they?
So there's quite a lot of families here, like young families here
Yeah.
growing up. And that's
There's, I've noticed as well, there's quite a few things around here for the younger generation to do too, isn't there? Like the skate park and the.
Oh yeah, for
playgrounds.
sure. Yeah, no, absolutely.
It's-
Yes.
playgrounds, is
Yeah.
skate park.
With everything else around Mathoura and the community, and I know you guys do a hell of a lot for the community around Mathoura,
That's
what do you think the pub offers to the community?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, we're good. It's like any pub. It's your local
Water and hole, like,
and your doctors, your bloody lawyers, your psychiatrists. It's,
Somewhere for a lot of people to go and have a chat with.
Well, it
you know,
is,
talk
it is,
about problems
yeah,
and have
yeah,
a cry and
yeah.
a laugh.
No, it is. Yeah.
But it's also with all those different people coming in as well, you know, your mates and people
Yeah.
in town and farmers.
Yeah.
Also gives somebody for you to talk to and have a laugh with.
Yeah,
and cry
no,
and
no,
that sort of
absolutely.
thing.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, no, it's a good thing. Like we've had a hell of a good time here.
yeah.
But yeah,
And then like, through this whole pandemic thing, the support from the locals,
yeah,
we
it's
can't
been-
thank them enough.
No, no,
Like,
no, yeah, no. It's
what
been great.
they've
Yeah.
gone above and beyond, like to come here and support you, and that is
Yeah.
amazing.
You just covered my next topic anyway, of what you think the community, you know, helps provide the pub with.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
before we go, because I know you guys are really busy, John, what does community mean to you?
Community.
Togetherness.
Yeah, strong. Like yeah. Keep it all. Yeah. Together. Yeah, no, it is. Yeah, it's a bond. Community. It's a good thing.
It is a big bond, isn't it?
It is. Yeah.
It's a bond
Yeah,
between
yeah.
people that
And like in
in
saying
good
that,
times
with the,
and in bad.
like with your people that come in, are like we're sort of always there for them too, but every now and again they're here for us too.
Most definitely,
Yeah.
because it's a
And
two-way
you'll
side of the fence, isn't it?
you'll get everything. You're all right. I go, yes, I'm fine. No, you're not. and they know. Yeah, like it's
Oh, of course
not
they
just
Yeah.
yeah. So it's it's good people. It's good people. Yeah.
It's when people come together, it's through good times, bad times, and they just, it doesn't matter if it's a happy moment, they come and they support you. It doesn't matter if it's sad, everyone just comes in
They will,
and says, right, let's pick up the pieces,
Chips it in,
let's
yeah.
do this.
Yeah, they got you.
And they do the same when it's a good thing, like they'll celebrate with you when it's a,
A good time,
Yeah.
and they commiserate with you
Fly
on a
off,
bad
yeah.
time.
yeah.
You must be a mind reader.
What's
Because you answered me a question before I asked it of what community means to you.
Yeah. I'm very community orientated. I try to go out of my way and do what I can for the community.
That's what community is all about, isn't it? It doesn't
Yeah.
matter whether you're a shopkeeper or run a garage or own and operate a local pub or a motel or a swimming pool
Yeah.
or somebody that lives in a town. That's community.
Oh,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah, no, and yeah. And like I said, when the chips are down, we usually
And also the local pub and publicans help a lot of the community with mental health issues too, without realising it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
you know what to say, shut up and drink.
just shut up and drink. And you can say to the other half, whether it be the husband or the wife, shut up and
Please
drive.
let
Yeah,
us
yeah. It's all right, it's all right, just leave him with me for a bit.
Off you go.
Yeah, but that works both ways too.
It does,
Yeah.
yeah,
So,
no,
and-
absolutely, yeah,
And
absolutely.
publicans, a lot of people don't understand or want to believe, but a lot of publicans have actually saved a lot of people's lives from doing something that devastating to them, but
Okay.
regrets the family and community.
Oh, yeah,
And
absolutely.
a lot of publicans have actually saved a lot of people's lives
Yeah.
by them having somebody to talk to.
Yeah.
So, and that's where a lot of publicans and the staff come in and help with a lot of mental
Yeah,
health issues
yeah,
that people
yeah.
don't know
Yeah,
about,
no,
and they help
absolutely.
without
Yeah.
realising it too. So.
Yeah.
And hey, hats off to yourselves and a lot of the other publicans that we've spoken to, and all the ones that we're going to be speaking to over the time,
Yeah.
for the magnificent job that you all do for your community, your local farmers and travellers coming through.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Thank you very much for the
No
chat,
worries.
John and Nicole.
Thank you.
Beautiful.
It's for
And-
sale too, by the way, anyone that's,
Easy done. Beautiful.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, John.
Excellent.
Thank you very much, Nicole.
Thanks.
You're welcome.